And away we go. Welcome back, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. It is morning where I am, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, broadcasting a little bit earlier than normal on YouTube, Coffee Talk on YouTube, or at Coffee Talk Live if you're looking for it, if you're listening and not watching, or Prepper University on YouTube. Got to broadcast a little bit earlier today because, of course, today is my wedding anniversary, and I wanted to keep the afternoon open. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to interrupt whatever we're doing this afternoon for the show because the wife comes first. Isn't that right, Dusty? Yeah, wife comes first. Dusty, everybody. There's Dusty. So thanks, everybody who will be able to join us at an earlier time slot. Usually we do this at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course. And as well as Coffee Talk and Prepper University on YouTube, I can also be found on fistfulofradio.com, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 and Friday at noon. As we take a look, we get ready to take a look at some of the craziness in our world, in the news today. What's happening in the news today? I don't know. We're going to read it and find out from various news sources. And of course, I read the entire article, or not the entire article. Sometimes I cut it short because it's repetitive or because it's pointless or it's badly written. And I read as many articles. I read as many comments as I can for the sake of the listening audience who is not able to see what's going on here. And comments, of course, from people who are able to join us on YouTube who choose to make a comment. Because we have people that come on that watch and don't say anything, and that's fine. See, Helter is here. Dragon is here. Armored is here. Armored Ghost. Dilo is here. He says he made it. Yes, indeed. It must be pretty early for you then. You're still in California, correct? So it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. And DH is here. He says, would you rather watch a tree grow or a knee grow? Okay, very funny. And DH made a $1.99 donation to the channel. Much appreciated. Donations, of course, are a big deal, go a long way to helping us with our stray cat projects as we get ready to dive into the news. I say dive, not dived. You heard people say that, is dived a word? We're going to get dived in, folks. I don't think that's proper grammar at all. Megan is here, says good morning. Thanks for joining us today, Megan, as we get ready to carry on. There's Uncle. For those of you who can see, Uncle has joined us as well as Dusty, keeping me company in the background. Uncle, the 20-pound tuxedo cat. He should have his own channel. So we'll go ahead and get started. And we've been talking a lot about illegal immigration recently. And one of the solutions that I had was we need to send them all back where they came from. It would literally be cheaper to put them on charter flights and send them away than it would be to feed them and clothe them and give them medical attention and shelter them and have all of the tax money going to processing them and everything else, putting them up in hotels. Some of them have been there for a couple of years. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that's where our tax money is going for hundreds of thousands of these people as they're pouring over the borders, north and south, because they're coming across Canada as well. And I've made that stipulation. It's like, hey, or that comment, it would be a lot cheaper to just send them home or send them somewhere other than here. Put them back to square one. Tell them we ain't got room for you. It's not unethical to look after your own and tell someone else I can't afford to help you. Read a couple more comments here. Megan has joined us. Bingo is here. NA is here. And Dilo confirms, 7:04 California time. Cruising says, don't even use charter flights. Use the military transport planes that are gathering dust. Not a bad idea. Monkey is here. Dilo says he agrees 100%. And Female Busybody is here. And Booger says, morning, everyone. Happy anniversary. Thank you. Yeah, happy anniversary indeed. We're 11 years today. 11 years today, my wife and I. So this first article, somebody's starting to get the idea. Someone's starting to get the idea. And we're going to pull up this first article. It's from NBC News. And you can guess who this is going to be. And BAMS says it would be 100 times cheaper to send them back. Yeah, even more than that could be. It could be even cheaper than that. Think about what it costs. It's incredible. And Megan says, happy anniversary. Thank you. This is NBC News again. Trump vows to invoke a wartime law to deport suspected foreign gang members and drug dealers. It's a start. It's a start. So here we go. Dubuque, Iowa. Former President Donald Trump said Wednesday that if reelected, he would immediately invoke a federal law granting himself the unilateral power to detain and deport non-citizens in the United States who are older than 14 years old. In remarks at a campaign stop, Trump pledged to use the Alien Enemies Act, part of the Alien and Sedition Act of 1798, which I guess they've never rescinded, to target suspected gang members, drug dealers, and cartel members. Quoting here, I'll invoke immediately the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members, the drug dealers, cartel members from the United States, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence once and for all. Trump said from a campaign stage in here in front of more than 1,000 supporters. In here in front? It's bad syntax, guys. Trump put forward his proposal in a speech intended to outline what would amount to his second-term immigration policy, one that foreshadows a greater use of executive branch powers and law enforcement resources, which the president could have a greater hand in directing. He also told the crowd he would also reinstate and expand the travel ban that he implemented during his first term in the White House. The ban, which President Joe Biden ended on his first day in office, barred most individuals from 7 countries, including 5 Muslim-majority countries, from entering the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, meant to be a wartime measure, was notably used during World War II. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt invoked it following the bombing of Pearl Harbor to order the government observation and detention of thousands of Japanese, German, and Italian nationals. And that, of course, would be the internment camps, Japanese internment camps being the most famous of those 3. The law says a president may order non-citizens to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies when he or she makes public proclamation that an invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation. A number of Democratic senators and civil rights groups have pushed for the repeal of the Alien Enemies Act. I bet they have. I bet they have. Female Busybody said starting to. Yeah, of course. And Bingo says, yeah, I forgot. Happy anniversary. No problem. I didn't forget, and that's what counts. Cruising says, cheapest way would be to march them right back on foot, just how they got here. Yeah, but they won't go. They'll cross the border, and they'll amass there, and then try to make a big push. I mean, that would be great, but we would have to march them all the way to wherever they're going in order to make sure that they got there. It won't happen. They'll all amass in a lump on the border and then make a big push and overwhelm security wherever that is. Female Busybody says, I read today they're issuing them IDs, photos, and everything on them, prepared for voting, I guess. Yeah, that could be. And again, that may backfire as well, because many of these people are coming from countries where they know what true socialism and communism actually looks like. They're not going to vote for that here if they have the right to vote. So if that's the plan, it won't work in the end. It's unfortunate. But this is the circumstances here. And finally, I guess, and it would be Trump, somebody gets it. It'd be cheaper to send him back. Okay, we'll invoke this. Anybody who's got gang tattoos, anybody who's got a criminal background, anybody who comes from a country that was previously on the banned list, let's get them the hell out of here. It can be done. You can find these people and move them if you really want to. It's just that nobody is taking those kinds of measures. it's not being stopped at all. Also, that travel ban would help to stop the influx of illegal aliens that are flying into the country. We read that article yesterday, which demonstrated, it's been revealed now, that's with the use of an app from the Department of Homeland Security, that since January, more than 210,000 illegal immigrants have flown into the country and then been redirected at the airports to destinations of their choice, which is absolutely unacceptable, but it's happening. So that would stop a lot of that. These are the types of drastic measures that need to be taken. And activists and politicians are going to sit there and cry and whine about it. Oh, it's immoral, it's unethical. And again, it's not immoral and unethical to look after your own before a stranger. I'm sorry. Delo says, happy anniversary. Thank you again. And Female Busybody says, congratulations on whole 11 years. You're just getting started. Yeah, no kidding. We've been together for 13, married for 11. And it's been great. She's a fantastic woman, and we get along really well. We're best friends on top of everything else, and that's important. That's very important. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be married to her, and we get along great. But yeah, finally someone gets the idea. This is someone listening to what the American people want, because the American people are getting more and more vocal about getting sick and tired of pandering to this. Even people who became natural citizens in this country are pissed off at how this is going, as people just flood into the borders and it's being allowed to happen. And the Trump wall that was sitting there in storage, they have now spent, I think, nearly twice as much as the wall components cost to store it, and are auctioning it off for pennies on the dollar. I think it was something like 2 cents on the dollar it was selling for when the Biden administration started selling off bits of the Trump wall, instead of doing something like, say, give it to Texas and let them set it up. Do something with it. You paid for it. Or at least keep it in the store. And again, the storage fees have now cost them more than the purchasing of the wall itself. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a waste of money. A waste of money. Monkey says, I remember a video where a Somalian refugee literally ambushed some cops in Bismarck or Fargo with an AK-47, and the guy ended up killing one cop and the refugees ended up dead. But this is a situation that is completely out of hand. It's obvious that it's out of hand. The media can't cover it up anymore. The citizens are outraged with it. And it's not just America. This is happening in pretty much every Western country right now, where they're being overloaded with not migrants, not non-citizens, illegal aliens. And it's not xenophobic to feel that way about it. You forced your way in here. I don't know who you are. I can't trust you because I know human nature. For all I know, you're a criminal, you're escaping the law, you're wanted somewhere, or you came here to cause harm. You're part of a terrorist organization. I don't know who you are. You need to go back to hell where you came from. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to get out of that mindset that we need to fix all of these people and help all of these people and save all of these people. It can't be done. It cannot be done, and we can't afford it. The taxpayers of all these countries, the United States included, cannot afford this anymore. It's completely out of control. Rock Valley says, sure wouldn't feed someone else before my kids and myself. Exactly. There's nothing unethical or immoral about taking care of your own first. And that's what's not being understood here. It's like, yeah, sure. If they're legitimate, there shouldn't be a problem. But there's too many that are illegitimate, and they're just pouring over the border. They're pouring over our borders. And something needs to be done about it. As we get on here. But, don't worry. Sweet, dear old, reliable old, lovely old, trustworthy old Uncle Joe has a solution. And this comes from Reason. I guess that's Reason Magazine. Has a solution for you. He's going to help you out. It says Biden administration announces new measures to get migrants to work. Oh, we'll give them jobs. We don't have unemployment. We don't. Apparently not. Apparently there are not unemployed in the United States. We have too many jobs and not enough workers. So we'll get them to work. They come at a critical time as labor shortages persist and cities struggle to provide for newcomers. Really? Labor shortages, huh? Yesterday, the Biden administration announced new actions to help get recent immigrants to work, including offering almost 500,000 Venezuelans a status that will let them live and work in the U.S. legally for the next 18 months. The new measures come at a critical time as labor shortages persist and cities struggle to provide for newcomers. Certain Venezuelan migrants are eligible for temporary protected status, a designation offered to migrants who can't safely return to their home countries due to armed conflict, environmental disasters, or another temporary safety hazard. Huh. Those are really, really vague descriptions. I can understand the armed conflict. There's a war in your country, you're afraid to go back. Okay. But environmental disaster, that could be anything. Oh, they could say nowadays they can declare that climate change is an environmental disaster and use that as an excuse to keep them here. Venezuela was first designated for temporary protected status in 2021 due to a severe political and economic crisis perpetrated by Nicolas Maduro's regime. Under the designation, Venezuelans who came to the U.S. before March 2021 qualified for protection. Now the status will apply to Venezuelans who arrived before the end of July this year. There are currently 16 countries designated for TPS. Roughly 472,000 Venezuelans are newly eligible for TPS, in addition to some 242,700 Venezuelans who were already eligible. Okay. TPS beneficiaries aren't removable, and importantly, they're given the opportunity to obtain work authorization. Oh, wow. That'll handle it. That'll take care of the problem, won't it, Biden? Thanks for that. That'll handle it. Let me see. Unemployment. Let's see what the numbers are. Civilian unemployment rate, if I can find it on the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, I'll read it for you. How many people are unemployed in the United States right now? How many unemployed in the U.S.? Roughly 3.7. So 6 million unemployed people, according to the current statistic. Well, that's all over the place. It says 6 million. So roughly at any given time, there are 6 million people out hunting for jobs in the United States, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So who's looking for work? And Freedom for All says early today. Yes, today's my anniversary, and I wanted to keep the afternoon open. My 11th year anniversary. And Johnny says, almost forgot, just got here, back hurts, so taking a day off from yard work. Oh, take care of yourself. Don't wear yourself down too much. And DH says, in Venezuela, all these Duro popular so bad. Why is California buying oil from them to make gas? Right? Yeah. If it's so bad, third world countries, if it's so bad, why are we buying from them? That's a good question. That's a good question, because the government is hypocrites. The government are hypocrites. So the Biden administration's answer to the immigration crisis is to make them all work, give them all jobs, give them our jobs. There's 500,000. That's nearly a million, because there's an additional, they said here, 242,700. So we're getting close to a million just from Venezuela, that they want to give work visas to. Meanwhile, there's roughly 6 million people wandering around looking for jobs now in the U.S. that are legitimate citizens. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem. Dragon says, this is a slap in the face to all legal immigrants who went through years of jumping through hoops to get a work permit while paying their share of taxes and contributing to the country's economy. Exactly. Exactly. It's insulting to all citizens, whether they were born here or whether they became citizens through legal channels. Why'd I go through all that trouble when you're just going to hand out this paperwork? Why the hell did I bother? It's absolutely insulting. And Johnny made a $20 donation to the channel. Thank you, Johnny. He says, happy anniversary, you two. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Any donation to the channel is very much appreciated, of course. And yeah, again, 11 years today. 11 years today. And let me see here. Bam says this invader thing is to destroy the West and replace the original population. And Rock Valley says how many underemployed. And that's another thing too. And I don't think there's a statistic for that, but yeah, there's a lot of people that are working maybe a part-time job and they need a better job or a second job and it's not available. And it could be at least as many as are completely unemployed. So that's a good question. Helter says, I wouldn't be surprised if this is Biden's way of rigging the votes for the upcoming 2024 elections in the Democrats' favor. Yeah, because they're running out of cemeteries. Monkey said, just like how the bad kids get rewarded while the good kids get treated like crap and wonder what's the point of being good. Yeah, I know. And they give rewards to bad kids. And you see this in a lot of IEPs in some schools. They reward them for when they do right to try to curb negative behavior. But then you got kids that were doing right the whole time that get nothing and get ignored. And then they reach a point where they decide, why the hell would I even bother? Why even try? And that's a good question. Cruising says, Monkey 99 smacking me in my soul on that comment. Cruising, of course, works in the public education system. But speaking of Venezuela, and this is one of the best stories of the week. This is hilarious. And I'm going to share this with you because this is Venezuela right here. Okay. I got two stories today that are nuts. And this is one of them. One of those, it's so crazy, it's got to be true kind of a thing. This comes from the Daily Mail. You may have seen this story. Venezuela's Tocoron prison raided. Moment 11,000 cops storm notorious jail to find a zoo, a casino, a nightclub, a pool, and a supermarket after the Tren de Agua. And I'm gonna read this in a minute. This is crazy. Johnny says it's an insult to an American citizen like me who obeys the law and still has to pay taxes when an illegal can break the law, don't have to pay taxes, and gets additional freebies. Can I identify as an illegal? You may be surprised what you can identify as, and that's one of the articles I'm going to get to in a little bit here. So here we go. The Venezuelan government has regained control of a prison that had been under the rule of the country's most powerful gang, which built its own mini city within the jail walls that featured a zoo, a club, and a swimming pool. So they lost control of this prison, and now the government got fed up with it and had 11,000 police and military operatives raid the prison to wrestle it away from this gang. Continuing with the story, the government deployed 11,000 cops and soldiers Wednesday to the Tocoron prison, which doubled as the Tren de Agua's headquarters in the north central state of Aragua. I don't know if Aragua. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The notorious criminal group set up small shacks where some members lived with their families and had access to satellite television and internet. The Tren de Agua Zoo is said to have housed tigers, lions, crocodiles, and pumas that were used to challenge prisoners and the authorities of government officials. The gang had its own nightclub named Tokyo, which is Spanish for the Japanese city, or Tokyo, if you will, where inmates regularly partied, and a restaurant where prisoners dined with visitors. There was a baseball field, a room where gambling activities took place, and another where inmates illegally mined cryptocurrency. The trend, you gotta love it. You know what that makes me think of? There was an old Three Stooges short in, I believe, the late 30s when Curly was still a member of the Stooges. Anybody remember this? You can chime in. I don't remember the name of the episode, but they were dating these three sisters, and the sisters were crying because their father, who was a warden of a jail, he didn't come back. The gang in the prison took over the prison and put the warden and the guards in the cells and turned the prison into a casino. And the Three Stooges had to infiltrate the jail so that they could free the warden and get the situation back to normal. And that's what I think of here. And I actually have I have another one. Yeah, take a look at these pictures. I'm going to scroll down and we'll show you the pictures here. There's the firefight in the prison from one of the body cams of the soldiers. Okay. Here's some people being rounded up. Now we come down a little further. Here's some flamingos in their zoo. They got flamingos. More prisoners. Oh, there's a lot of motorcycles. A lot of motorcycles here. Here's another swimming pool. Oh, that's very nice. Where did they have the time to build a swimming pool or pools? I heard there's more than one. Swimming pools in the prison. Here's a play park for visiting families' children. Oh my God. Look at this. Some ocelots, I guess that looks like, right? Ocelot, big cats in their little private zoo. Wow, must be nice. Baseball field. You turn the yard into a baseball field so they can play ball. You know they love baseball down there. Here's their gambling casino. Look at this. And this is inside. Excuse me. This is inside here. Where do they get the Jumbotron? They got a Jumbotron in there. That is nuts. That is incredible. How do you do that? These are Bitcoin miners. You know how expensive these things are? They're mining Bitcoin in there. You got to love it, folks. You got to love it. Some grenades, explosives. That is crazy. I'm in the wrong line of work. I'm in the wrong line of work. Let me see here. I'll catch up a couple of the comments really quickly. Glass half full says 3 smart saps. It might be. I don't remember. I'm a fan of the old Stooges and old movie serials in general, because you remember those were not television shows. They were movie serials that were assembled into television shows at a later date. And I grew up watching that. They used to it used to play on Sunday mornings on channel 38 UHF in Boston. And once a year at New Year's, they would run a 24-hour marathon of the Stooges. But I just remember the episode. Monkey says third world countries will turn to mining crypto since the cryptocurrency they're mining can yield more profit than them working in an actual job. Yeah, I wish I had some Bitcoin miners. Delo is like, wow, no kidding. Excuse me. Johnny says, got to be a situation where guards were in on this too. How else could this be done? Obviously, because, I mean, they built a baseball field. They had a baseball field, a casino with a Jumbotron. All right, a zoo with rare, exotic big cats. Bam says, sad they don't have a firearms range. Well, they had plenty of firearms and grenades and explosives and all kinds of things. But the Venezuelan government got them with overwhelming force. I mean, 11,000 troops with heavy equipment and automatic weapons. It's kind of hard to resist, even behind the walls of a prison. Monkey says they can range from 2 to 12,000 depending upon what they are, and he means what kind of Bitcoin miners they are, is what he's referring to. Dragon says this is just a show. Elections are coming. The prison's been like that for years under the current Venezuelan government. Monkey says, but it's costly too, or not. You can hijack electricity for free and have to make sure the miners stay running 24/7. Yeah, the electric bill on that's going to be high because they get hot, if I understand correctly. I don't have one, but you know, like I said, I'm in the wrong line of work apparently. And Urban is here. Thanks for joining us today, Urban. Monkey says, I fix crypto miners for my job. Oh, okay. There you go. Then you know a little bit more about it. And Monkey says, if you see the miners to the right frequency and wattage range, you can make profits if you have a shit ton of miners running. Yeah. Well, if you feel like sending me a few, I'll take them. I certainly can't afford to buy one. Anyways, I just thought that was hilarious. How do you get to that point? How do you get to that point? It's absolutely incredible. But we move on here. And Urban, I'm glad you made it because I'm going to talk about something in Canada here in a minute. As we move on to the next subject, catch and release, catch and release. And this is something that comes up quite often in some of the discussions. Catch and release. Fox News says Illinois burglary subject released after stealing $68,000 in items on heels of state's new cash bail elimination, because they're doing away with cash bail in many of these uber liberal cities now. And this is the result of that. So here we go. A burglary suspect in Chicago suburb was released from jail Thursday after allegedly stealing tens of thousands of dollars in items from a high-end boutique. The DuPage County State Attorney Office said in a Facebook post that Terry Johnson, 30, was released from jail Thursday after allegedly stealing $68,000 in merchandise from Kelsey Resale Boutique in Hinsdale, Illinois on May 24th. An investigation revealed that Johnson and 6 accomplices broke into the store with a sledgehammer at 1:19 a.m. and stole an assortment of purses and other merchandise. A judge ordered that Johnson wear a GPS monitoring device and remain at least 1,000 feet away from the boutique. Oh, good. He can just break in somewhere else, right? He's being charged with armed violence and burglary. And I guess that's him right there. That would be Terry Johnson, age 30. That must be his mugshot. The suspects fled the area afterwards, but investigators found blood evidence near the front door, which was sent for analysis. Who cut themselves? That's really sloppy, guys. You know, a professional burglar wouldn't have done that. A DNA profile consistent with Johnson was returned on August 15th. Johnson was taken into custody on September 20th without incident and released 1 day later. He is on parole for armed robbery and aggravated battery out of Cook County, prosecutors said. Wow. DuPage County State's Attorney Robert Berlin said in a statement that Johnson's release shows an issue with the newly passed SAFE T Act, and that's SAFE-T. SAFE-T Act, which eliminates cash bail. The portion of the bill eliminating cash bail took effect Monday. He got in right under the wire. That's perfect. The fact that Mr. Johnson, who's currently on parole and now accused of a forcible felony, will be out on the streets pending his trial illustrates a deficiency in the new law. Because who would have imagined that there could be a problem with that? Berlin said, I have been saying all along that after hearing the facts and circumstances of a case, a judge, not the legislator, is in the best position to decide if pretrial release for a defendant is appropriate. I mean, that's such a foolish decision anyways. Who passes a law like that? Oh, no bail, don't worry about it. And he breaks into someplace, steals $68,000 worth of merchandise, gets caught because he's stupid. He bled there. Stupid. I don't know what he did to cut himself, but he should have at least made an effort to cover it up. Hose it down with a fire extinguisher or something wherever you may have dropped blood. Yeah, hey, I wonder if I can commit a crime and leave somebody else's blood there. Drop some of their hair follicles on the scene. That makes me think of Gattaca. Who remembers the film Gattaca? And all the detectives were guys that walked around in like these floor-length trench coats with little tiny vacuum cleaners, like the kind you use to clean your keyboard. And they would go around and they'd vacuum all around wherever a crime was committed. And then whatever particles were collected in the little vacuum would give them DNA profiles of everybody who had been there that day. And then anyone who wasn't supposed to be there, they would go and interview that person. Anyone ever see Gattaca? It's a really interesting post-apocalyptic film. So where are we? Monkey again. He says most of them can't be ran with 120 volt, though some have weaker miners that can do 120 volt or 12 volt and have to be from 240 volt to 480 volt. Yeah, basically the miners use a lot of power. And Bull is here, and he says, welcome to the world of WROL. Prep hard your beans, bullets, and band-aids, because lights go out, the big cities will eat themselves. And he is right. Nothing wrong with prepping, folks. I'm a big advocate for that. Be prepared for disasters. Have plenty of food for yourself and your families. Have a way to defend yourself. Be prepared for the worst, even if it never comes. But this is outrageous that they could, and you know what? If you had committed a crime against the state, I bet if he went and cut the heads off of a couple of parking meters, they wouldn't have let him out. You know what I mean? You do something against the state, they'll hem you up. Rob a store, nobody cares. Isn't that kind of how it works? Isn't that sad? That's what we've gotten to. And Johnny confirms it. He says, yeah, I looked it up. 3 Smart Saps, 1942. I thought it was a little earlier than that, but it's you get befuddled sometimes because a lot of their shorts were kind of war era shorts, and it blurs together after a while. And also 3 Smart Saps, I think it reuses some film footage from one of their prior episodes, because they would do that sometimes. They would recycle footage that looks like it would fit. And I think when they're in the nightclub in the prison and they're dancing, there's the scene with Curly with the spring from the sofa gets caught in his pants, and that was from an earlier short from a few years back. And so they rehashed things from time to time like that. Urban says if he was wearing a Trump hat, he'd be facing 30 years. Yeah, they would have tied him into January 6th. He was there. No, he wasn't there, but we're still going to charge him like they did to Torrio. as we shift gears. And this one is, oh no, I'm not going to do that one yet. I'm going to save that one for last because that is absolutely bonkers. That's funnier than the Venezuelan one. You're going to have to wait till the closer to the end for this one. Let me see here. This next one is actually about Canada. If I can get it to pull up properly. And this is Yahoo News. And I don't, Yahoo is Yahoo, whatever. But I've had a very, very difficult time finding any information on this that wasn't like pure propaganda from the Canadian government anyways. Yahoo News, an attack on their autonomy or safeguarding kids. What happened at the 1 million march and counter protests across Canada. And this is something that Urban first alerted me to, because they are in Canada, that there's supposed to be a 1 million person march in various districts across the time zones in Canada protesting the Alphabet Squad's infiltration of the public school system. And everything I've seen on it, I've looked and looked and looked, and it's really tough to find an article on this. And this happened on September 20th, a couple days ago. And everything is like propaganda from the Canadian government, Trudeau condemning them for being transphobic and all this other stuff, but nothing really talking about it. And this probably doesn't either. It's really been hard. It says Alphabet advocates say the demonstrators are a violation of human rights, targeting queer and trans students. And we read into the article. And again, this is Yahoo News because I couldn't find anything better. Hundreds of demonstrators across Canada. Now, right there, hundreds. I don't know if that's true or not. I've seen hundreds. I've seen thousands. They said 1 million person march. Did they achieve that? I have no way of knowing. I don't know. But this says hundreds of demonstrators across Canada took to the streets to protest alphabet inclusive education in school curriculums, and they were met with thousands of counter protesters advocating for the rights of queer people. So this is even pandering right here, because they're making it sound like the counter protests far outweighed the protesters. Hundreds of demonstrators met against thousands of counter protesters. You think that would have made more news. Organized by Hands Off Our Children and Family Freedom, the 1 Million March for Children is an active protest against sexual orientation and gender ideology curriculums in Canadian schools. On their websites, the groups say the march will safeguard children from gender ideology teaching, sexual indoctrination, exposure to explicit sexual content, ensuring that parental consent remains paramount because they have no rights, just like in the United States. Yet, alphabet advocates say the demonstrations are a violation of human rights, targeting queer and trans students. See if I can find anything else on this. The Hands Off Our Children website describes itself as a movement that embraces principles of human dignity, freedom of thought, and religious freedoms. Our mission includes safeguarding children's rights, nurturing their growth in a safe environment, and promoting critical thinking through quality education. Yet, online, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network describes Hands Off Our Children and Family Freedom as groups hiding behind the illusion that they are just trying to protect children. Quote, these protests are supported by big tent, far-right, and conspiratorial groups, including Christian nationalists, conservative Muslims, C-virus conspiracy theorists, sovereign citizens, anti-public education activists, and more, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network tweeted. And then they buttoned their brown shirt all the way to the top and put their armbands on. It's a belief that the elementary teachers of Toronto and Toronto District School Boards are echoing. We want to make it unequivocally clear that TDSB stands with our trans, two-spirit, and non-binary students, staff, and families, and we support everyone's human rights and expression of gender. Harassment, discrimination, and hate have no place in TDSB. In our schools, we do not tell students who they should be, but welcome them as they are, the TDSB wrote in a statement. But that's not exactly true, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Did anybody see this or witness this? Was it really only 100 here and 100 there, or was there more people? I'd like to find more information on this. I'd like to find some more information on this. Let me catch up some of the comments here really quick. Well, Preparedness Veteran made it. Thanks for joining us today. Urban says the counter protests were union-supported interlopers and agent provocateurs. Canada 101. Yeah, I believe it. Helter says parents have the main roles and responsibilities in rearing their children as a family. The basic unit of a society is a family. Respect the parents and let them take care of their children. No, the government wants to take care of your kids. And parents in the Western world as a whole, not just Canada, not just the United States, not just Great Britain, have been complacent in that for far too long. It's been decades that they've let the state take care of their kids. They let the state run things. And now that it's gotten really out of control, suddenly they want to have a voice and discovered that there isn't a voice anymore. Preparedness says, what's this? People suddenly walking up to this modern ridiculousness, or suddenly waking up. Yeah, it's been going on for decades. And John Boy says, good morning, everybody. Sorry I am late. What have I missed? You missed the Venezuelan prison that had been turned into a resort that was retaken by Venezuelan military. You missed Biden giving nearly 1 million Venezuelan workers visas to work in the United States, because apparently there's a job shortage, or not a job shortage, but a shortage of people looking for work. We have more jobs than job hunters. And Trump says if he is elected president, he's going to invoke a little known wartime law that gives him basically permission to throw the majority of the illegals who have crossed the border out of the country. As we move on here, And Glass Half Full says no mention of Islamophobia by Trudeau because it was organized by Muslims. Yeah, I heard that the one of a Muslim group is on the top of that list of people who put this together. That's right. They don't want to name them. Dragon says the difficult thing about this is though, regardless of what the curriculum says, most teachers are so left leaning that they will teach it even if it isn't supposed to be taught. You're finding that especially with younger and younger people that are coming in to the educational system. Cruising is here, and they can chime in on that. They're an educator in Florida. But again, you've got the people that are bought in. You've got the teachers who are bought in. You've got the teachers that feel like their hands are tied because the system won't let them do anything different than what they're instructed to do. And you've got the teachers that are just like, I just want to go along to get along until I can retire and I'm done. So yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. And let me see here. Glass Half Full says Trudeau usually says everyone is an Islamophobe if you disagree with him. Yeah, that's what you do. And Cruising says the mental misalignment of these beliefs. You have the right to kill your unborn child. You do not have the right to raise your child in your culture, nor dictate their education. And absolutely true, the younger teachers are brainwashed coming out of the colleges. And that is Cruising again, who is an educator in Florida. Preparedness said, unless people push back against all of this current idiocy, it'll keep happening. They'll be literally begging for you to vote at the next election. And not enough people do push back. And I don't even know what the truth of all this article is. And, I'll try to look a little further. Was it really only hundreds of people? I seriously doubt that. I think most Canadians are kind of outraged at this point, or else we wouldn't have seen all of the support during the trucker strike. It isn't just the fact that the truckers blocked up all the roads. It's all the people that came out to help them because they're so sick of how things are going in Canada. They're sick of how things are going in their country. But then, we're at a point now where, especially in Canada, they're controlling the media. So you're only hearing what they want you to hear. You can't tell what's true, what's safe. It's a mess. Yeah, and you can't trust what they tell you. Cruising says they got people to take an experimental toxin for a donut. Next election, they'll be offering donuts for punched checks. Yeah, that's right. Because remember, if you got the jab, you could show your Vax card to get like free coffee, or a free donut. Yeah, they did that in the U.S. and I'm sure they did something similar in the other place. Bingo says, "Why are my comments getting skipped? It was thousands, and it's all over TikTok and Twitter." Did you comment somewhere else? I didn't see it, or is YouTube kicking them out again? I don't see you up here anywhere else. And Urban says it's difficult to find information on the marches in Ottawa. It was tens of thousands in total. In Edmonton, the teachers union sent goons to counter protest the parents, so it was broken up. And Bingo says he's on the live chat. Yeah, I only see one comment here from you, Bingo, the one where you're asking what's happening to your comments. I can only speculate. He says it happened yesterday too. Yeah, YouTube does that. They throw comments out, and I don't know what specifically they target or how that works. But I don't censor comments unless somebody comes in here trolling, saying something really ignorant, which happens from time to time. They just come in here cussing a storm or saying something real nasty. I might stop it, but usually regular comments I wouldn't mess with, even if I don't agree with it. But yeah, and that's something I want to know. How did it really look? Because the article says hundreds, and then the counter protests were thousands of people, as if to show the rest of the world or convince the rest of the world that Canada's actually behind progressing in this direction. And it doesn't look like that's true. Bam says, here you get one free empty bucket and thousands did line up. And Bingo says, I know it's not you. Yeah, I know. I just want to make the point. I want to make the point for other people who are watching. And this is some crazy times, and it leads to mental illness. It develops mental illness with a lot of people because there's no limit anymore of what you can pretend and try to wish into reality. I wish I was this. I wish I was that. I identify as this and that. Okay. There's no limit to it because, again, if you set the bar high, you have to work to get over it. But if you keep setting the bar lower, there is no limit to how low a bar can go for people to crawl under it. And this pretending culture is getting really out of hand. And that's what this next article is. Something really crazy. And this is in the New York Post. I'm going to share with you here. I've seen this. It's an issue that's come up in public schools recently, but not the same thing. But I'll tell you what I mean in a moment. I want you to see this headline first, if it ever comes up. There we go. New York Post. Hundreds of people who identify as dogs gather in city center, call animal control. Hundreds of people who identify as dogs, because why not? Because there's no limit on what you can pretend to be. And we've seen this in public schools, usually with kids, it's cats. I've seen that with cats. I've seen kids out in the open, out in the wild, I guess you could say, the damn place. It's all these pop-ups screwing me up here. I'm trying to get it to hold still because I want to start that video clip. So let me rewind this, and I'm going to play this clip for you just to show you how crazy the world is. And this is this protest. They want to be recognized. They're not people, they're dogs. You ready for this? Can you see this clip okay? If it'll play. Oh, we are doomed. We are doomed. That is pure insanity. And they will not. They're howling. Let me pause that. They're howling because they will not speak. They're dogs, remember? And again, I've seen this with kids. I've heard about it happening in schools where the kid identifies as a cat and they meow at you and you have to acknowledge that. But I've actually seen this in person in like Walmart and places where the kid sits there, meows, and does weird stuff. Little kids like 5, 6 years old. This is what that leads to when people are allowed to run crazy with their imaginations. These people think they're dogs, and they pretend to be dogs all day long, and you better accept it. You better accept it. Yeah. Cruising says, hopefully they're housebroken. No kidding. Yeah, somebody must have to walk them. Cruising, this may be a genius way to avoid taxes. Hey, yeah, because somebody's got to pay for them, right? And Bam says, send the Soylent Green truck to collect the dog people and send them up to McDonald's. And Monkey says, notice how all of those people that identify as something always have the gay flag or the T-word flag. That's right. There are gay flags in that crowd of people. Good observation. Good observation. That flag always shows up. Preparedness says send them to the pound. Cruising says other kin, but they still won't let you spray them with a water bottle. And Helder says, I think some of these people are pretending to be dogs to avoid their human responsibilities. Yeah, but but it's a form of mental illness. They want to avoid human responsibility, but they keep sinking deeper into their fantasy until it makes them crazy. I love how the article starts, though. They've got a bone to pick. You got to love it. A pack of dog identifying humans have prompted calls for animal control after footage of their Berlin meetup went viral. An estimated 1,000 people who prefer to be recognized as not humans but canines organized a gathering at the Berlin Potsdamer Platz railroad station in Germany, communicating only by howling or barking at one another. Online, critics jeered at the trans species folk. And that's what that's referred to, and that's where the gay flag ties in. They're trans species. Okay? Trans species. Get used to it. Some offering to put the herd's canine instincts to the test, just abandon them in the Siberian tundra and let them survive with their canine instincts. I don't see anyone smelling the tail of others. This is just quotes of people making fun of them. I'm not really interested in that. The unorthodox canine convention follows the viral sensation of Toko, the human collie. I heard of that. A man located in Japan who's fulfilling a lifelong dream of becoming a pooch after purchasing a $14,000 hyper-realistic suit. Yeah, he had a professional custom dog suit made for himself that conforms to his body, that looks like a real dog, albeit a very big one, that he paid a fortune for. In a previous interview with the Post, Toko revealed he hoped to meet others with canine aspirations. Quote, I think it would be great if something like this existed, says Toko, who has been dubbed a Therian. I would like to meet them. Experts have called for a differentiation between Therians, people who identify as a creature other than human, and furries, individuals who enjoy cosplaying in animal suits. And yeah, that there needs to be a separation there, because a furry is something that they call people who just put on a costume to go to like a comic convention or something like that. They know when to take the damn costume off. They're just pretending for a few hours, as opposed to people who want to live like this. Okay? That's bonkers. That is bonkers. Let me see. Catch up a couple of comments. Bingo says spray them with a hose. Bull says, like Alex says, we're all behind enemy lines in the information war. Agencies are putting out Tokyo Rose messages and making their ideology seem normal and suppressing news reports that stand against it. No kidding. Preparedness says if they identify as such, their benefits should be taken away and treated as such. No, they're going to keep getting benefits. They're going to get more. Monkey says if they want to be dogs, let them roam the woods, not the inner city. Rock Valley says this are the next groups to vote. Yeah, because their voting rights will not be taken away. They will have the right to vote. They do have the right to vote. That's important to consider. Remember, I used to work in a mental health facility with people that were wards of the state, people who could not read or write, people who had the IQ of dogs, people who were declared unfit to make decisions, but the state required them to be registered voters. And they could not be brought anywhere to vote, and they could not be given a ballot to vote on. So they never technically voted, but they have voting status. People who can't decide between chocolate and vanilla ice cream, the state requires them to be registered voters. So yeah, they'll have the right to vote. Velvet Pilot says, all right, then now the town can send them to the vet and get them put down. Yeah, they should be spayed and neutered. Dragon says, round the curs up and have them spayed or neutered unless they registered owners pay the fine for them being loose. Yeah, I know. This is nuts. And Versatech is here. Didn't know you were in here today. And Megan says, people pretending to be something else self-inflict stress because on some level they know the majority of people won't consign to their BS that makes them always anticipate conflict and be defensive. And that's the whole problem with the LGB community in a nutshell. They don't fully accept themselves, number one. They're worried about what everyone else is thinking. That's number two. So 1 and 2 equals I'm going to force everybody to accept me, which makes even more animosity because now you're trying to force someone to accept something that's not part of their lifestyle. And that's the whole problem in a nutshell. Yeah, I just read that one. Let me just catch up here as we're getting close to the hour. Urban says, don't be surprised if trans species becomes part of the curriculum in schools. Oh, man, I know. And Monkey says a lot of the times the people that do this called furries usually have jobs that pay well, like engineering or IT. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, they're just, if you're going to go to a show, you're going to go to a comic show or whatever, and wear a costume for a couple of hours just to screw around. I don't care. But when you're doing this 24/7, something's wrong. Urban says, how come only trans dogs? Where are all the trans sheep? Because that would be too obvious. And Bam says, will be interesting to see what happens when the lights go off. Yeah, they'll all, thunderstorm maybe. They would freak out. And Versatech says, I normally listen to catch up when I go to sleep. I'm in the UK. No problem. Glad you could chime in, though. But with that, we'll go ahead and start wrapping up because we're at the top of the hour. Glad everybody could join us this morning because normally I do this at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But of course, today is my anniversary, my 11th year wedding anniversary. So I wanted my afternoon to be open for my lovely wife. Again, this is Coffee Talk. So you're watching at Coffee Talk live on YouTube or Prepper University on YouTube, or if you're listening and not watching, you're probably on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of the Atlanta area, Monday through Thursday at 4 and Friday at noon, and that is Eastern Standard Time. And what's this? Megan says people make themselves unemployable with this type of cosplay, outrageous tattoos and piercings and other types of self-mutilation. Then they get mad because people dismiss them. No kidding. Oh, and Velvet Pilot says happy anniversary. Anarchy says happy anniversary. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. And hey, any minute that I'm with my wife, I am happy. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks for joining us, everybody, today. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And I will catch you flip side of Monday.